Hey everyone, what's going on? I hope you're all having an amazing Saturday today. There's a lot of things that have been going on between Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and other creators coming on board over at Lucasfilm that are currently, by the way, getting hired by Jon and Dave to really take on this new approach to the Star Wars universe at hand. We know that Bob Iger is very desperate to turn things around properly and to make sure that Star Wars is going to thrive and survive past Mando Season 3 and the Ahsoka series, of course. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that we have a lot of things happening between, the whole Legends universe coming back to life and how that's going to be portrayed mostly in Ahsoka Season 1, Season 2, Mando Season 4, for starters, that's really going to kickstart the reincarnation of the Thrawn trilogy books back in the 1990s. We know that Timothy Zahn has been a bit of an advisor for a lot of Jon and Dave's work lately. He's been going over and speaking with Jon and Dave on what to do and what not to do. And so I think that we're in good hands when it comes to how Thrawn is going to be used in the upcoming Ahsoka Tano series. But that brings us to something even more specific, more important about what Favreau had to say and reveal to the fans that actually does involve Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. Now, you guys may recall that when Jon Favreau was working on The Jungle Book and The Lion King, and how he's also working on Mufasa for 2024, back in the day, a lot of people assumed that he used those Disney contacts to get his way over to Lucasfilm, to get his way over to Disney, and Jon Favreau actually revealed something very specific that may come across as a big surprise to the community and to the entire fandom. So let's dive into all of this. Now, with Favreau revealing more secrets about Lucasfilm and Star Wars lately, he recently got on the subject of something substantial that fans may find to be shocking and very revealing. Now, Favreau, in a recent interview when promoting Mando Season 3, went on to state the following to the community. Believe it or not, my main connections to Lucasfilm and Disney weren't necessarily from The Jungle Book and The Lion King when using my contacts at Disney to get a chance to make the first Star Wars series at the time. But I was originally in the talks with Lucasfilm to become a part of the script for Episode 9 as one of the co-writers, back in I would say late 2018, when they were revising some of their story ideas. The thing about Lucasfilm at the time, and what Kathleen Kennedy thought about my approach for Episode 9, is that it caused us to fall into creative differences. I actually had all these really cool ideas and surprising ideas on how we could have evolved Finn and Rey and the connections to the Jedi and more related to how Luke could have been used in a broader sense in the actual last film. I was heartbroken when I learned what they were actually doing to keep it, of course, connected to how they were lessening the use of Luke, and with JJ and Chris only, and that they were ditching the idea of bringing on a second co-writer, or should I say a third co-writer. Now, I want to stop right here about what Favreau is saying. Now, basically, what he's also confirming is a lot of the rewrites and the reshoots that were taking place during the holiday season of 2018. This makes perfect sense, by the way. You guys may recall that there were initial plans to have a full-fledged teaser trailer of Episode 9 for December of 2018. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was supposed to air, I believe, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time somewhere during some kind of event, and it never happened. A lot of it had to do with the reshoots and the rewrites, and this is right around the time where Lucasfilm was seeking a third, or should I say, a second co-writer, I should say. Technically then a third writer, if you want to put it out like that. But yeah, I mean, they were really on the hunt for somebody else to come on board to take control of the story along with JJ and Chris, and Jon was actually surprisingly in the cards. But what Jon wanted to do was he wanted to make Luke relevant. He wanted to make Luke relevant again, to be the center of attention, given that they were titling it The Rise of Skywalker. And that really landed him into creative differences, into a lot of problematic scenarios. Not a big surprise there. And basically Favreau is admitting and confirming that the reason why he actually got on board of Mando and got the role as a producer, a writer, director, whatever have you, for Mandalorian had a lot to do with his involvement with being in the talks for Episode 9, not necessarily how he worked on Jungle Book and The Lion King. That's pretty surprising. So on to the next thing. He goes on to confirm, "It was soul-crushing a bit at the time because I always wanted to work on a saga film connected to the Skywalkers. And these great ideas that arose, of course, for Luke that were just shut down one after the other, and I began to understand why George kept his distance from this production, or of this movie, for a while, since they were excluding one of his favorite characters ever written for the actual, saga. But I am happy where I am now, and I am also in the talks with how we can adapt some characters to the big screen again, and I love that where we are going with all the new characters, and of course Luke. It's the main reason why I came back to return, was to explore his young adult life again, and just as George did back in the 80s. So, again, we know that Jon Favreau is not a fake fan, alright? We know that he's not just doing this because it's a film career opportunity. It's literally a guy that loves Star Wars. I don't know if you guys ever watched Swingers. It's one of his most popular films out there. He makes a reference to Star Wars in there, I think like 1 or 2 times. That's living proof that he's a fan. Even back in the 90s, he was a fan. And so that's why I think fans feel more comfort with him, of course, because he's a guy that really cares about the fandom. He's a guy that really cares about Legends and everything that George Lucas approved all those years ago. And to actually see how he was able to confirm that there were a lot of talks and conversations of him becoming a part of Episode 9, and ultimately what got him kicked out had a lot to do with how he wanted to make Luke relevant again. By the way, guys, this is what got Colin Trevorrow fired. He wanted Luke to be pretty much a big focus in Duel of the Fates. He wanted a lot of flashback scenes in there. He wanted Luke's Force Ghost to be more prominent with Kylo Ren, stuff like that. That got him basically fired because he wanted the Skywalkers to be the center of attention. Kathleen Kennedy did not want that. That's why Colin Trevorrow got the boot. And he never wants to talk about it. Whenever Colin gets questioned about this, Colin just says, I don't want to talk about it. He must have really been hit hard on that. So, anyways, I think that Jon putting this out there is a great move on his end, really putting it to rest that he didn't use his contacts from the Jungle Book and the Lion King. In fact, it was the contacts that he gained over at Disney when he was in the talks to really kind of become a part of Episode 9 at last minute. So anyways, guys, with that being all put out there and said, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.